9 to 5 or 9?
How many seconds?
Mics are hot.
Yes. There we go. All righty. And we're going to open up our call to order our May 23rd, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education. Do we have any public contact? None? All righty. We are going to go into closed session. Good evening. We're going to reconvene the May 23rd, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education. We are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there anyone that would like to? Oh, that's right. Kyle Henderson, 8th grade from Rincon Middle School. Thank you, Doug.
Please put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And this evening, we have everyone here other than Joan, who is out of state. I believe her nephews? Granddaughters are graduating from
College.
Princeton. Yes, so congratulations to them. And we are going to go to the report out of closed session. In closed session, the board considered dismissal charges against a classified probationary employee. It took action to approve those charges and release employee number 61543 by a vote of 4-0. Additionally, in the matter of existing litigation, SPED settlement number 2023-24-01, the board voted to approve the special education settlement agreement by a vote of 4-0. And I need a motion to approve the agenda today.
Move approval of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Doug.
I'll second.
Zustin?
Oh, hold on. I do have a. Staff is requesting that we pull N2 and we modify N3. We'll be removing the MTSS site specialist job description. We've got a little bit more work that we need to do on that one. And so we're pulling N2, the MOU. We've got, again, some more last minute work that we need to do on that. And modify N3, the MTSS site specialist.
Okay, accept those modifications.
And it passes 4-0. Need a motion for the approval of the minutes.
I'll move.
We have a motion and a second. And it passes 4-0. Moving on to D1 recognition.
Yes, so we are once again excited to be able to honor students from across our district. We'll be inviting up the principals who will share a little bit about their schools and then go ahead and call up their students who are being honored. So let's begin with Principal Steve White from Rincon Middle School.
Good evening, I'm Steve White, proud principal at Rincon Middle School. President Houston, board members, Dr. Barr and Cabinet. I'm pleased to be able to share with you this evening 3 students who demonstrate the very best at Rincon. But first, I'd like to at this time recognize the family, friends, and staff members from the Rincon community who are here this evening to celebrate these students' accomplishments. Would you please stand, everyone from Rincon? Would you please stand? Thank you. As the USD has introduced the framework for the future, the learner profile, and the learning model this year to develop a common language across our district, I will highlight 3 of the 6 learner profile student outcomes that can be observed each and every day at Rincon Middle School. At Rincon, every student is an effective communicator, whether students are sharing classroom presentations, engaging in classroom discussions, or leading ASB activities, they clearly express themselves. At Rincon, every student is an empathetic collaborator, whether students work together completing a hands-on project, collaborating on a class presentation, or creating a mural for a school dance or the superintendent's office. Our Bulldogs work as a team to achieve a common goal. And at Rincon, every student is an ethical scholar, whether students set personal goals to achieve or engage in actions that make a positive impact on our school community. Our Rincon Bulldogs bark, believe, achieve, respect, and show kindness. At this time, I ask that Rincon's 3 Student Excellence Award recipients come join me at the podium. If I can please have Kyle, Daisy, and Elena come join me. I will begin with Kyle Henderson, 8th grade student. And here's what staff members have to say about Kyle. Kyle Henderson is a school champion that is an effective communicator. As an ASB student leader, he orchestrates lunchtime activities with finesse, emceeing activities, and ensuring that everyone feels engaged and welcomed. Beyond his role as a student leader, Kyle's bond with a visually impaired peer exemplifies his compassion and dedication to fostering a supportive community. His ability to effectively communicate and demonstrate empathy makes him a true champion of inclusion and friendship at Rincon. We truly appreciate all that Kyle contributes to the Rincon school community. Congratulations, Kyle. Next, I'm pleased to recognize Daisy Gonzalez, 7th grade student. Daisy Gonzalez shines as an empathetic collaborator at Rincon. She consistently demonstrates her ability to be an empathetic collaborator by working as the team leader in a project-based learning environment in her advanced art class. She always encourages her peers and is an excellent role model. Through our Peers Uniting Peers, or PUPS program, she has applied her artistic talent and her gift for showing empathy to others by teaching art lessons to students in the Rincon SBSC program. With her sunny disposition and outgoing personality, Daisy spreads kindness to her peers and teachers. We are grateful for Daisy's contributions to the Rincon school community. Congratulations, Daisy. And finally, I'm pleased to recognize Elena Ramirez, 6th grade student. Elena Ramirez is someone that Bulldog peers want to emulate. Whether in class or on the field during PE, she's always there with a smile and a helping hand playing fair and abiding by the rules. She models integrity, respect, and compassion, inspiring those around her. Elena has a very promising future due to her outstanding character and the many scholarly traits she possesses. By demonstrating Bark daily and making a positive impact at Rincon, Elena enriches our school community. We thank Elena for her contributions as an ethical scholar. Congratulations, Elena. I'm going to take a couple pictures for us as a group, and the parents, please get closer to take some pictures. Our staff as well. Okay, we'll go over here.
And next, we'd like to invite up the principal of Rock Springs Elementary, Elizabeth Ramirez.
I think Steve's a little taller than I am. First off, thank you always, Dr. Ivada, Cabinet, President Houston. We always love to have this opportunity to tell you why our school is the best. And for us, obviously, Rock Springs rocks. Yeah, that is supposed to work like that. Okay, good. First one, at Rock Springs, every student is a critical thinker. They're encouraged to be decision makers, to analyze new ideas and relevant questions. They demonstrate these thinking skills in assignments, STEM project, team activities, and class discussion on literature. At Rock Springs, every student is an effective communicator. They're active listeners who take time to listen to their classmates. They share their discoveries and they ask clarifying questions to contribute to lead informed decisions. They practice these skills as they deliver presentations and do peer math games. And finally, at Rock Springs, our students are empathetic collaborators where we show our characters a pillar of respect and caring for other people's ideas and feelings. We work together with big buddies from 5th grade all the way to 2nd grade. To kinder. They lead with kindness and compassion. We have a new student leadership team who participate in community circles and help understand everyone else's perspectives. So we want to share some of these excellent students. So I'm going to ask for my 3 students to please come on up. Anthony Romero, Ian Flores, and Samantha Varela. It's okay, we're practicing for promotion. They've got this already. So these are the wise words of their teachers who have also joined us. So thank you, Ms. Sandara, for selecting Anthony Romero. First, Anthony was selected to be honored for student excellence because he consistently shows selflessness, determination, and a strong work ethic. Anthony is a student who often makes an effort to help a classmate in need, whether it's with homework, if they're feeling down. He always shows determination when challenging tasks and always puts his best effort. He is courageous and to the others around him and reflects tremendous amount of growth this year academically, socially, and emotionally. We are so glad Anthony joined the Rock Springs team this year. So thank you, Anthony, and congratulations. I'll flip the page because you're next to me. All right. Next off, I have from Mr. Hernandez wrote these wonderful words about this wonderful student, Ian Flores. He's an outstanding student who's demonstrated excellence as a critical thinker by maintaining academic excellence. At the beginning of the year, his fall iReady was just not where he wanted it to be. He tried with much perseverance and dedication, and now he is in the top 5 students in math in his class. We're so proud of him. He showed these skills at his STEM competition this year. He sets high academic achievement goals with no excuses. He's outstanding and inquisitive nature. He's contributed to the pursuit of excellence and always maintains a positive attitude. We appreciate that he's caring and responsible, always looking out for his classroom community. He goes above and beyond to lead a group of classmates to assist in mathematics, and he rarely misses school. So Ian, thank you very much for being a Rock Springs Road Runner, and congratulations on this achievement. And now Samantha Varela. Samantha was also selected by her teacher, Ms. Echevarria, who joined us here this evening. And we'd like to honor Samantha Varela for her Student Excellence Award. She shows kindness, responsibility, and trustworthiness in and outside the classroom. She is kind to her peers, always lending a helpful hand, and she's always smiling, except for right this second. She's a little nervous, so she's always smiling. She always gives her best effort in everything she does. She was also an excellent team member, as we took third in this year's STEM competition. And she always helps cheer on her crew. Even if she wasn't on the robotics side, she did all the mathematical calculations. She knows how to try her best and help a friend when in need. You have been a positive impact on our school, Samantha, and thank you for being an outstanding road runner.
And next, from Rose Elementary, Principal Laura Ruggles.
Perfect time. Good evening, Dr. Ibarra, President Houston, and members of the school board and cabinet. Thank you for this opportunity to recognize some special dolphins from Rose Elementary School. Some might say thank you for saving the best for last. I'd first like to recognize all the staff and parents that are here tonight to celebrate these students. Could you please stand and be recognized? We are truly lucky to have such an amazing school community that comes together to support our fantastic dolphins. Okay. At Rose School, every student is an effective communicator. Rose Dolphins regularly have opportunities to practice their communication skills so that they can express and articulate their ideas with purpose. And as you can see from these pictures, students in grades 2 through 5 participated in a theater production of Finding Nemo this year. Our 4th and 5th grade dolphin delegates led our monthly assemblies, and 4th grade students read and discussed self-created books to kindergarten students. At Rose, every student is an empathetic collaborator. At Rose, all dolphins can be found working together and honoring others' experiences. For example, first grade students working collaboratively, cheering each other on and providing feedback as they worked to master foundational literacy skills. TK students working together to grow sunflowers in our school garden. And finally, our 5th grade students worked together to figure out which planet to send a solar-powered rover to, a decision that was based on the brightness of the sun in relationship to the planet. And finally, at Rose, every student is an ethical scholar. At Rose, all dolphins practice kindness and compassion on a daily basis, as well as work to hold themselves accountable for their words and actions. Some examples of this have included practicing our 4 Bs. By doing that, being safe, being responsible, being respectful, and being kind. They got to have popsicles with me. It was delicious. Students also expressing gratitude to their families, their friends, and their community by writing words of thanks. And finally, students supporting each other's learning as they engage in new vocabulary. So now I'd like to introduce our 3 Student Excellent Award recipients. Each of these students demonstrates what it is to be an ethical scholar. So could I have Elizabeth Rose David and Sophia, come on up. So, Rose is from Miss Texera's class, and Miss Texera says, Rose is a diligent, thoughtful, and kind third grade student. She's always positive and ready to try her best. She comes to school with a great attitude daily, which makes teaching her a joy. She participates, works with others easily, and is independent. She exemplifies how you can be brilliant and gracious at the same time. Ms. Tixera says, I can trust that her work is well thought out and organized. She doesn't race quickly to finish things, but works at a steady pace to completion. We are so proud of how much she has grown this year. We are certain Rose will have a great future in whatever she chooses to do. Congratulations, Rose. Sophia Perez is from Mrs. Imes' class. Sophia is a bright and compassionate fourth grader. She radiates kindness and positivity in all of her interactions, and her strong work ethic shines as she consistently applies herself in the classroom. Beyond excelling academically, Sophia is an active participant in various after-school clubs, showcasing her enthusiasm for learning and her commitment to personal growth. Sophia's achievement is a testament to her hard work, compassion, and positive attitude, inspiring her peers and educators alike. Congratulations, Sophia. David Olivaria Cortez is from Mrs. Allison's class. She says, David is a memorable student. His teachers, past and current alike, have noted the same high qualities. David is very responsible and trustworthy. He takes care of what he needs to do when he needs to do it. He is always kind and polite to everyone around him. David's academics are superior. David is intelligent, and his success is due to the fact that he works very hard on learning every single day. David is the student who is focused, listens, and participates. In addition, he is constantly pushing himself to succeed. David has a great future ahead of him. Congratulations. Congratulations, David.
Congratulations to all of our students. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and we'll be coming back at, let's say, 7:30.
More for someone else to do, and while the president is, I just was thinking about that, it's like a lot of.
We're all gonna know is if it changes.
We used to. Yeah, yeah. And then
No, but I mean the time.
No, I'm looking at my watch.
Seconds.
Okay.
Probably could start figuring we're sitting down.
I heard today a rumor that I'm not running.
Look at that. Good job.
All righty, we are back in session, and we're going to public comments. We have one person this evening, Mr. Juan Vargas.
Gotta say, I love the soundtrack y'all always put in here. It's always fun to hear. So hi, members of the board, Dr. Ibarra, cabinet. As I said, my name is Juan Vargas, and here today as a parent and a community member. I haven't been able to make the last couple meetings, so this might be a little late, but I just wanted to stop by and express my excitement that EUSD received that community schools grant. So I'm really happy and stoked about that. I honestly think that this will be super impactful, not only for our kids, but our community as a whole. The next steps are going to be crucial in making sure this program makes the most impact in our community. So I please ask that you bring in all stakeholders that will be impacted by this opportunity. Students, parents, teachers, classified, and anyone else that I missed should be a part of this conversation. I do also hope that we find a way, be it through the community schools grant or other outside, out-of-the-box ideas, to bring back our intervention teachers. As a parent to a student who benefited from these intervention teachers, I know it was super helpful to my daughter, so it's something that I hold dearly to her success in this last year, 2 years. So it's something that I think we should definitely continue to work on. But I'm really happy, like I said, to hear about the community schools grant. I've been looking at the success that it's been having down in Chula Vista, and it's awesome. So thank you so much. And to all my classified employee siblings, if you're watching, happy Classified Employees Week. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sir. And moving to public hearings, we have none. Report from CSEA, we have none. I don't see anyone there. And also Triple EA, I see none. All written communications have been properly submitted and provided to the board. And going to the consent items, we did already talk about pulling several things. Yes. Okay, so I do need a motion for the approval of the consent items with the items that were amended.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Thank you. And it passes 4-0. Thank you. Moving on to our discussion M1, our May revise.
Good evening, Board President, Board, Cabinet, audience, those at home. A couple days ago, we were in a webinar, a workshop, learning about all the details about the May revision that the governor released a little bit over a week ago to his January proposal for the state's adopted budget that they will finally adopt in June. And so I wanted to give a little bit of an update, things we've learned, and also just things we know as we work our way through towards our adopted budget now. So first, as we've all been keenly aware of, the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, and the downgrade of that. So what I've put on here, you can see our first interim, which really it was what our adopted budget was built on. It was the COLA that we had planned for a couple of years, the 3.94% for next year. At second interim, we had presented that after January's proposal, that came down to 0.76. That was quite a large drop. And now in the May revision, the statutory or calculated COLA was 1.07, and the governor has signaled that he would like to fund it at that level. And then you can see in the next year, after next year, the year after that, what the COLA was when we started the year, and then how it's been downgraded as well. And then below that, the revenue that's generated, or unrestricted, or LCFF revenue, I'm sorry, that is generated by our COLA there, and the difference that makes in that revenue expectation. So what we started the year, and again, what we've been using for a couple years for planning for next year in our multiple year projections, we were counting on that 193 million, and that's been now 188 million for next year. And you can see that play out over the following years up to about a $7 million cut in revenue expectation in the 26-27 year because of cutting the COLA in the next year and the year after. That chart also illustrates graphically the dollar amount drop. At a previous board meeting, a few board meetings ago, we presented a plan in order to, after we had the January proposal and that large drop in the COLA, of something that we could do with our one-time monies that we still have from the COVID era. And that was essentially to use some of those in the current year to charge some of our expenses to, so those monies would fall to the bottom line and create a reserve that would help buffer us through the next few years, the next 2 to 3 years, as the state figures out its situation. So just an update on that. We were able to move about $13 million of that one-time money into the unrestricted general fund. Again, that will then fall to the bottom line as we close the books. And $12 million remains still in the restricted general fund. Those two together are what we could call commonly the ALERT plan. Now, I just want to mention too, these numbers are all very preliminary as we're still going through the process of ending the fiscal year, and so numbers still could change as we close out the fiscal year. Our plan at this point, and this is going to be in much more detail in June 6th when we come back and present our full adopted budget presentation. But our plan at this point would be put about $5 million of our salary cost into that money there, into that ALERT plan money in the restricted column. About $3 million set aside for our increasing special education expenses. And then also, we've talked a lot about our ADA, or average daily attendance, and looking at the trajectory of it so far in this year, and the potential of needing to downgrade that projection from 94%, which our second interim showed for next year, down to 93%. But because of things like the community schools grant and the success it's had in other districts with attendance and the efforts and initiatives that we're putting forth to improve that, we're making a bet on ourselves. And so what that bullet means is that we would adopt our budget or bring that forward for the board at 94% for the next 3 years. But if we don't hit that mark, the state sends us an invoice. And so what we would do is set aside an amount of money equal to that difference between what that we think the minimum it could be and to where we're betting on ourselves for, which is about $500,000 for next year. And we would want to set that aside. So if we don't hit that mark, we have the money to be able to pay the state back. If we hit the mark, then that's money that can continue to help offset our deficits. Also, that we'll be bringing forward is the continued commitment of our Limitless Learning Academy, and that would be a commitment in our unrestricted general fund ending balance, as we talked about as part of that ALERT plan. And then all of this tentatively, again, numbers still could change as we close out the year, about $15 million beyond all of these that could help us to work towards resetting our district to the post-COVID normal, as we went from the pre-COVID era to the COVID era, and now, for lack of a better term, the post-COVID era as we search for a new normal of what education is after COVID. So some considerations as we put our budget together and for the future as well. First, as we went from discussed our staffing plan at a few board meetings ago, and now as we actually did the work of putting the actual people into all these positions, that all the movement that we've had there, those costs are a bit higher than we had anticipated. And had we known the information we know today, back then, we did present a plan of potentially being able to add some additional FTEs to each school for intervention, that we would not have made that recommendation if we knew then what we know now. Also, as we've seen through the May revision and some of the news stories that are out there now, the Prop 98, and that's a part of our California state law in the Constitution that guarantees a certain amount of funding for schools based on what the tax revenues are. And we know we might have heard, I've talked about it before, that because of the delay of tax receipts in the previous year, the state adopted its budget and funded education at an amount about $8 billion more than what the Prop 98 guarantee would have called for, because tax revenues came in lower than what were expected or in their adopted budget. And right now, the California Teachers Association and even the School Boards Association and some school districts, school boards themselves are looking at potentially filing a lawsuit if this does come to pass in the state's adopted budget, but the governor's maneuver to close the budget deficit and also deal with that overfunding in the previous year of $8 billion to public education. Because part of the Prop 98, and we're all kind of learning a lot more about that, is if there is a funding of public education above that minimum, then the state must continue to at that funding level. And the governor's proposing to suspend that and to not fund us at that higher level. And so, rightfully so, some of these advocacy groups are talking to the governor and threatening a lawsuit if it does come to pass in order to protect education funding here in the state. If the maneuver does come to pass and prevails in court, if there is a lawsuit, that could mean several more $1 million that could be removed from our potential revenues, our portion of the Prop 98 guarantee. So that's something we have to keep an eye on that could dramatically change things for us in the future. Also, the COLA proposed at the higher 1.07. There was a bit of a weird delay and a pause in the middle of the May revision that went from a Friday all the way into the next week. And over that weekend, there was a lot of negotiations and discussions with CTA and other groups trying to negotiate that up to the calculated 1.07%. In fact, the letter that kind of summarizes all of the financial aspects of the May revision from the Department of Finance from California, and I believe we've shared that in a previous board update, they actually just crossed out the COLA numbers and put in 1.07. So you can see that they had a document ready to go, and then at the last minute, they just didn't even make a new document. They just struck through, and they didn't handwrite it in, but they might as well have. So you can see that that is still something that's in discussion at the state level. And so we're going to keep an eye on that when the state adopts their budget at the end of June. After we adopt ours, could the COLA further be a victim to the state's budget situation? Another mechanism the state has to help their situation, essentially kicking the can down the road at their level, but further causing issues with school districts, is deferrals. And that's where every month we'll get a certain amount of money as our allowance, if you will, from the state. They would not pay us for certain months, and prior to leading into COVID, that was something that was a reality, where they'll maybe not give us the last 3 or 4 months of those payments, but then with the promise to pay those back and the money they owe us for those months in the beginning of the next year. Now, of course, they could always delay even paying that back. And that's a call back to many years before even the LCFF, when there was deferrals that went on for a long time. So that's something else we have to keep an eye on here. Now, that would be a cash flow issue. We would be able to borrow from other funds that we have, but we have to pay those back, but just to be able to maintain our cash flow to make payroll while we wait for the deferral payment to come back to us in the following year. And then, of course, as I showed on the first slide, that COLA for the following year after next was also already downgraded. Now, part of the balancing of the budget and making up for the deficit, you know, the governor's also signaled some and had some conversations about potentially borrowing against future years, even the next 5 years, to make up the difference for this year in the budget. And that would come in the form of possibly reduced COLAs in those years, even more reduced than what we're seeing now. So we got to keep an eye on all of that. And what we have in the bank is what the alert plan is made of, and that's the money that we have to try to get us through the next few years and stay in the driver's seat as much as we can for our Escondido public education. So the next steps from here is we're going to continue to build our adopted budget, get to our estimated actuals, as you know, as we come before you in early June and present what we project our actuals to end, but the year isn't actually in fiscally until June 30th. So those are the estimated actuals. Of course, we come back in September and present our unaudited actuals, so after we've actually fully closed the books, but we're working on putting that together so we have a pretty accurate, as close as we can estimate it to how we'll end the year, to kind of know where we stand at that adopted budget. And then, so June 6th, we'll be presenting that in great detail, as well as our LCAP. And then on the second meeting in June, on June 20th, we would be bringing that back forward for adoption of both the LCAP and the budget. And then we're all going to be watching for the news of what the state's final adopted budget is, which I imagine is going to come in at 11:59 on June 30th. And so that will help us to decide now what our future holds from there too. So kind of right now, just sitting and waiting and seeing what more damage the state might cause to public education so that we can react accordingly. What also could be up there was then also, when we come back in August, we would do a 45-day revision, which is something that we can do, and there's a change to the adopted budget from the state after we've adopted ours that has big changes. Regardless of if there's big changes or not, we'll still come back here and give an update on where we are with our budget and if there's been any changes that affect that as well. And I would expect that I'll be standing in front of this board and the community providing even more frequent budget updates as we go through this situation for the next year or two. Now we're at questions.
Do we have any questions, Mark? Zesty? Well, that's because you're farther away.
So back to the first slide, the projected COLA for upcoming years, 25, 26, 26, 27. I understand I'm asking you to speculate, but are those numbers within the realm of reality? I mean, are we really expecting to get the 2.93 and 3.08 or anywhere close to it?
Looking at the many tens of billions of dollars of the state deficit and their seeming inability to figure out a way to close that deficit without cutting massive amounts of programs across the state, I would not bet on it.
Thank you.
Can I
I,
ask a follow-up?
please.
So would it be more prudent to kind of drop that down? Or should we stay with what they are projecting so that or have Plan B? I mean, obviously you have a Plan B if it
Yeah.
drops down, but as we go through for the next
Adopting our budget.
adopted budget, if we know it's going to come in lower, would it be more prudent to bring it a little bit lower or just stay with what numbers are giving you so that we stay solvent to the state?
That's what this plan is supposed to mitigate. Now, one thing that we're hearing from the Legislative Analyst's Office, Department of Finance, prior to the May revision, was some actual program cuts that I have shown a couple of times here, cutting things like the transportation money we get, the additional money we get for TK students, things like that. And that's not included in the May revision cuts to those programs. And so the alert plan money was to build us an ending balance that could survive cuts like that or even further cuts to the COLA. And so instead of, at this point, us getting into the business of kind of betting and guessing at what the COLA might be, better for us is to set aside money to be a buffer for us in case those do come down. And of course, if they do, then we'll be coming back before the board to discuss what that impact is. But that definitely would cut into any amount of money we have at the ending balance as well. So that's something we're going to be keeping an eye on all the time. And of course, in years past, the state would be required to give the COLA as it's calculated or some economic factors. I can come back later and be more prepared to discuss what all of those are and get an in-depth presentation on what makes up the COLA, the calculation of it. But not long ago, the state also passed a new law that allows them not to fund that COLA. So, and again, I use the example of right before COVID, there was the year where the January proposal, the May revision, and the final budget. At one of those, I believe it was the May revision, that they suggested that there would be a negative 10% COLA.
Right.
And no one's ever, that's alive today, has seen a 10% drop in the cost of living. So that's just evidence that the state will use the COLA as a way to turn up and turn down funding for state programs, most importantly, public education. But instead of getting into a guessing game, we're hedging against it by setting aside money. But if we get an inkling that there's going to be another cut to that, like if we see that in our the June adopted budget, cut to future years, or even the current one, our 45-day revision would include an outlook, a multiple-year outlook to reflect that and what that means for us.
And if I could add, we'll have different points where we'll be looking at this. It'll, of course, be at first interim and second interim that we always look at these numbers because, it'll give you enough time to react to that as well.
And that's when the board would re-adopt our actual budget. So we adopt our budget in June, and then the first interim would be a revision and another opportunity to adopt the budget in an updated form. The second interim, same thing.
Thank you. Doug, sorry.
So just to clarify, going to slide 4, the COLA proposed the 1.07. Just to make clear, am I correct that that could be reduced at the actual state budget adoption?
Yes, it could, in fact, because we started the year where that was supposed to be 3.94, and they were okay with cutting it as much as they did already. That's certainly, and I think that's pretty much the only lever that the state has on turning up and down funding. And so if they don't think they have enough money to do that, and they can't get agreement in the legislature to fund the COLA at that amount and adopt their budget, and they're required by the state constitution. I think they don't get paid if they don't adopt it by June 30th at 11:59 and 59 seconds. I'd imagine that that's something that's in discussions as we speak right now, that offices in the Capitol building are going through this and looking to see if they can afford to fund that, or if they're going to need to bring it back down to the 0.76 or something even lower. I'm not going to bet on a higher based on the situation, but yes, that's something that, the May revision is just a proposal, and it doesn't count until they adopt it in June.
Thank you. And so, do I understand that we're taking the very conservative approach of assuming that COLA is going to be 1.07% or lower, and that because of that and the fact that our preliminary staffing plan costs came in higher than anticipated, that we're not doing new funding and we're sort of hunkering down and preparing for worst-case scenarios?
I think that's the best course of action right now for us to maintain the stability of this district.
Thank you. Now, going to the deferrals of payments could still come for our employees. How bad what could those deferrals look like? What could this look like from an operational standpoint?
So it's more of a cash flow situation into where, so we get that monthly allowance. They don't pay us, let's say, the last 4 months of the fiscal year. Then they pay us back in the first 4 months, or whatever their deferral plan is, that amount of money back to us. And so what for us is that's why we'd have to take money from, our nutrition fund. We have to pay it back in the same year, or funds that we have like that are outside of our general fund that have a cash balance in them to make up the difference for our cash flow in order for us to pay our bills. Payroll very much the biggest part of that, and then pay that back. But then once we receive the money back, then that would make us whole. The danger is if the state has a plan for that, but then delays their plan for paying it back and kind of playing that game of kick the can and kind of not giving us a sure place to stand in what they're doing. The last time they tried to do deferrals before COVID, it was a firm plan of took away the last 4 months and we're paying that all back. And their plan at that time was to pay us back what they didn't give us in those months plus what they owed us in those months in the next year. So they were going to make us whole. And that's a way for them to reduce the cost of the current year and move that into the next year. Now, if you do that, what money's available in the next year, given the deficit they already have, probably what comes with that is also a lower COLA in that next year.
Thank you. And so for that economic uncertainty, we have the reserve fund. And so I'm asking this off the top of your head. Do you know approximately what our reserve is? Dollars?
Off the top of my head, and it's still being calculated out to the exact degree, but I will tell you, do you want to tell me what it is today?
34.
Okay, so $34 million. And approximately what is our monthly payroll?
15 million.
Okay, so we can't do this using that reserve, even though that reserve sounds huge. It will not float us for very long, is that correct? Like 2 months? Thank you. Okay.
That's why we'd have to borrow from
Other funds.
And also the deficit that still exists in our next year's budget too would eat away at that $34 million before the end of next year as well.
And so I just sort of wanted to confirm that point, that our reserves, although they appear huge, are not really that significant when it comes to running the district.
No, they're not.
Thank you.
Well, obviously, this is very disheartening to hear. I mean, we have, we base our funding on, base our staffing on certain, parameters that the governor's office gives us. And, just to have so much fluctuation is really an emotional roller coaster, I think, for our staff and for us and for our students. But I do want to say I really like the approach we took this year in it, and trying to be very proactive. We did the spending freeze right away, and then I felt like we had more opportunities for the public to be engaged in what we're doing, and we were very transparent in what we were doing and what the numbers were we were working with. Just if you put out to the public, if you look at that first slide again, if we start out we're at almost 194 million, and now we're down to 188 million. That's already a cut on top of, our costs that go up, 2.5 to 3 million every year without even doing anything, just our baked in costs of doing business. So if we look at that big of a jump or a cut, that, it doesn't make it easier, but I hope we're getting the message out to everyone so they understand this is the reality of the situation, and we're trying to do the best to create a stable fiscal situation for this district. Because again, even if they took away the last 4 months, you like Doug said, we could only cover 2 months of that. I'm disheartened. I'm really upset. I was trying to mill over this all day because we have a lot of good teachers and good programs, and we're losing the ability to fund some of those. And I think it's really going to impact our students. And it's unfortunate. So I want us to continue this proactive approach and really look at our whole district. We're obviously going to need to make more changes next year, and I hope they stay out of the classroom, like we've heard. Because we've done a lot to the classrooms. We know how capable our teaching staff is, but that's a lot to put on them. So I hope we find other solutions. And then again, to what President Houston was saying about attendance, we have to get that message out. That is so important, not only for the student to be in class so they can learn and not miss the instructional day, but to our bottom line as well, so we can keep funding the programs. If we're off by 1%, it's $1 million, about $1 million. And if we don't have the students in the seats, they're not learning, but it's also making us cut our programs. So I think that's going to be a really big focus again next year, is to really get the students in the classroom learning, but also helping us provide more funding so we can continue some of these programs that we have and see the success of them. It's just, again, it's very frustrating. I appreciate all the work you guys have done, but we've got to really, again, we're going to keep, I know it's going to be a constant battle, but we need to really look at the rest of the district and how we can keep right-sizing and protecting ourselves from these constant shifts in, we should be strong enough that if these changes come, we can still withstand them and still keep our programs in place. So that's all I have to say.
I want to say in the adopted budget presentation, things that we're working on to help bring understanding for the impacts of all these things is a couple of different tools. The one we had presented, I don't know, maybe last year, was kind of a simulation of ADA at different amounts. And there's just very complicated formulas for how funding's derived from that, but to show, like, okay, if we were at this ADA, what the funding implications and the increase in funding would be of increasing our ADA at different amounts. And then also somewhat of a timeline over the next few years of our spending and revenues available or reserved, and kind of to illustrate, where we need to stay off that bottom line to remain solvent, and kind of just to give more of an illustration of the time component of this, because really what we're trying to do with the spending freeze and building this reserve and all that is to really buy years until, as we know with these, this is not the first time there's been a downturn. They don't call it a recession, it sure feels like one. But it's a cycle. And so we got to buy enough years to survive until the sun comes back up and education funding starts to come back up, and we're able to rebuild after that. And so we want to be able to illustrate kind of visually, so that it's for everybody to be able to use in conversations, yourselves, all of us, so that everybody's on the same page of understanding of what is happening here and how we're getting through it together.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it would be very helpful to have a lot more visuals, just because no one's gonna read the budget, you know, the Excel spreadsheet. I know you and Michelle know, but the rest of us, I think if we have more visuals to really clearly show where
Right.
the money is going, what we have coming in, and how ADA affects it, how, you know, how different things affect it, I think that will help us in communicating out to the
Absolutely.
community as well, and how they're being affected, and what gets affected by this.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure everybody understands, all of our stakeholders understands as well as we do, in whatever way we can do to help. That's what we're trying to do.
Anything else? Doug, go ahead.
One more point. In the last meeting, there was discussion about adding a .5 intervention teacher to to each school. And Dr. Ibarra, can we just get clarity for people in the audience?
Yes, our recommendation is we don't go ahead and apply that .5 FTE. As difficult as it is, we don't apply that until we know exactly where we are with the budget. Because the conversation was, if we have additional money, the focus is on intervention. And at this point, we don't have that extra money. So our course of action is, let's hold off on bringing back even that half FTE until we know exactly where we land.
And so I think that what I believe we would have consensus that if money becomes available, providing that intervention to the neediest schools, to the neediest students, is a priority of the board and of the district, but at this time, we do not have the funding for it. Is that a correct statement?
Well, I have a question before you get to that statement.
All right.
I want to jump on before that, because I want to understand how our tier 2, without the intervention, is how our tier 2 and tier 3 needs are going to be addressed.
The tiered structure is really about who gets what. And if I've got, right now in our elementary schools, we have currently a block of time for universal access time. This is time additional to language arts time. There's a block of time where you give students either intervention, enrichment in language arts. There's also a separate block in mathematics. So that's the time where you can pull. So when you're looking at a multi-tiered system of support, that during that universal access time, kids get what they need. So if I don't have an intervention teacher that I'm working with, my tier 1, basically everyone gets language arts instruction. Tier 2, I need to give a little bit more to kids who are needy. So I would pull those kids in during that time. Everybody else is doing independent or independent work or working on extension of their learning. If I'm tier 3, they need a little bit more. So those are the students that either get a double dose or a triple dose. So I'd probably schedule my time with, let me make sure I have a smaller group, let me make sure I get to them every single day for that additional time. Level 2 means I won't get to them as often, but I need to get to them further. So everyone gets the basic, then you do it. Definitely having an intervention teacher. Tier 3 would have somebody else pushing in. There's also schools can address this through team approach. Because every school in elementary now has a common language arts time, a universal access time. I'll take 20 students. You take the students who are tier 3. Let's have smaller class sizes. That way so you have a team approach where you level the students up and you are working. And I'll take 20, you take the most neediest in the smaller capacity. So it can be done in a variety of ways. But also what we have in our elementary schools is that collaboration time where the teachers can sit with their kids, look at the data, sit with their colleagues, and they could work on a plan to how do we address the needs of tier 3 students who are really behind, our tier 2 students who are almost behind, and then our tier 1 students who are on track, and we just need to keep moving up. That's how we're looking at addressing these needs. Definitely, intervention helps, but doesn't mean intervention doesn't help. The other thing is, remember, our after-school program will have a component of intervention. And so tier 3 students will be assigned to after-school programs in order to get that intervention.
Yeah, I would like to hear.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be an upcoming presentation or how that's structured, because I'd like to hear more about that as well, how that's going to be rolled out to the students and to the staff. I mean, like,
No. Yeah.
how they're
Yeah.
going to be grouped, who's going to run it. You know, I know it depends on who volunteers for it, obviously, but I feel like it's going to be in the details of how it's rolled out, if it's
Right.
effective or not just, they're all in this class, here, I'm
Right.
taking all these, extra kids.
Absolutely. There's already a lot of discussion around those after-school ELOP classes to include intervention as part of the enrichment classes. So it could be a full intervention class, or it could be maybe part of the time block is intervention and then enrichment, just to motivate them to attend. But part of that also is that the ratios will be smaller, so that teachers also would have a smaller group to be addressing. We'd be providing training as well, specifically on intervention programs. So the Bridges programs that we saw a lot of success with this year, we would make sure that any of our after-school intervention teachers would be using that as well, tracking their data, having conversations about that, providing that level of support also.
And are these trainings going to happen before, I'm assuming before the school year starts?
We have some scheduled before the school year, as well as during their Thursday kind of early release days during Cross-Art TICs or staff meetings. There's plans that were in the works right now to bring those teams together to be able to provide that.
Because I'm assuming or those regular classroom teacher just can't pick up the Bridges program, and, I mean, they're going to need to be properly trained to use it properly.
And
So it's
luckily,
effective.
we've been able to maintain those 4 math coaches that are we've already been talking to them about making sure that we're prepared to provide that PD.
Okay.
Anything else?
Do you have a bucket of money somewhere?
I do
you find
not.
one?
I do not. And I have no friends that have buckets of monies either, so I apologize. I'll work on that. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to N1.
Good evening. So I'm asking for approval for the expiration of the temporary contracts for the 112 employees listed listed here.
Yes, any discussion?
On item N1, move approval to approve the expiration of temporary contracts ending June 5, 2024 for these 112 certificated employees, with the notation that these are excellent teachers. And we very much appreciate their service and hope that we're able to bring many of them back.
I will second that with also the explanation of the gratitude for the excellent work that these individuals have done with heavy heart, but with much appreciation and gratitude for their efforts.
We have a motion and a second. It does pass 4-0. And 2 and 3 were
N3 has been modified through our amendment, and so you'll be approving the job description for the
MTS, or for the community schools coordinator.
coordinator. Right.
I need a motion
I'll move approval.
and a second. Thank you, Mark. It passes 4-0. N4.
We're looking for approval for the new job description for the Behavior Intervention Coordinator.
Make a motion, staff's recommendation.
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Doug.
Can I make a comment on this?
Absolutely.
Just wanted to say, I'm excited that we're moving away from vendors on this, keeping it in-house, and it sounds like we're gonna save 300,000 right off the bat, by doing this, so. I know it's a higher level position, and that was one of the concerns of the Personnel Commission that they brought up. But, I mean, we will be saving a substantial amount of money right out of the gate, and then hopefully growing some of our own internal staff into positions where they can get certified as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Esty. Please vote. Passes 4-0. N5.
And then the last is to ratify the correction of the classified salary schedule to add the 40 and 45 years, because now we had employees that needed that.
Right.
And I would like to make the motion to ratify this correction with our extreme appreciation for employees who have been with the district over 45 years.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Esty.
No, I think Judy, didn't Judy beat it at like 52?
For certificated, yeah.
For classified,
For class-
49.
Yeah.
I think she was.
And it passes 4-0.
I think it just wasn't on the schedule.
N6.
Okay, so N6, asking for the board to approve the employment agreement for Assistant Superintendent Audrey Frank. This would remove the interim title, and she would become a full Assistant Superintendent.
She got a real name tag, too. Did we get to add the bell to it?
If it's a,
She's going to be official. She's been slighted this whole time.
Someday we're going to get this.
And I need a motion.
I'll move.
And I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Doug.
And congratulations, by the way, yeah.
Oh, we don't know.
Oh, we haven't voted. Sorry, we're waiting. It's dead time. I'm trying to fill the dead time.
And it passes 4-0. Congratulations,
Okay, now
Audrey.
congratulations.
Yeah, moving on to the board and staff reports. Mark?
Just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to staff. Thank you to all the teachers and to the classified staff throughout the district. I know our classified staff have a mountain of work that they're staring down as the promotions are coming up, and then the long summer chore list that will be commencing quite soon. So excited to be on campus at the promotions. It's always a special time to kind of see the culmination of our students in our district completing their stay with us, and the enthusiasm to go on to the next. So thanks to everyone. Thanks to the cabinet, to Dr. Barra, to my fellow colleagues on the board, to Michelle, and most importantly to our wonderful teachers and staff who support all of our students' efforts.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. I attended the community schools meeting, which was really interesting to see, and I'm glad you guys all agreed we should have some representation on that. It's going to make quite an impact, and so it's very exciting to see the progress they're making. I wanted to commend facilities for, we had a teacher sent in a request, and I think they had someone out there by the end of the day responding to it and wanting to fix it and make it better, so I wanted to thank them. On last Thursday, I represented the board at Honoring Our Employees ceremony, which is always nice. We had some great retirees, that we will be sorely missed at this district, and seeing all the 20 and 30 year. And congratulations to our teachers of the year, our classified employee of the year, and then also our admin of the year, Sherry Moore from NB Ranch. She's got a fun bunch over there, just to let you know. That's a great site. But it was always a great event, and we are so glad we were able to honor our employees and recognize their years of service. I also attended the Personnel Committee meeting. I went to the Reedy Creek Open House. They had a great setup. They had so many art projects on display with different mediums. They had games set up. They also had student demonstrations. I mean, I could hardly find a place to park. They had food trucks. It was a great event out there. I also attended the esports championship at Bear Valley. They had some big winners who actually got cash prizes, which was very exciting. And then I heard there was a little bit of a side competition that happened between two of our cabinet members. I can't remember who won. I can't.
Can you let us know who won? Leonard?
I think you might have won that one.
Yeah.
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, yeah.
Mario Kart. Hidden talent.
No, he did not let me win.
I attended the Triple EA banquet, and again, I got to make friends with several teachers from North Broadway. So I think North Broadway might be becoming my favorite school site because they've got quite a lively crew over there. But thank you for Triple EA for putting that on. It was a great time to see everyone in a good mood and relaxing. For ACE Day, I followed Christina, who was a Para 1 in kindergarten over at North Broadway. It was great. We did small groups, and I had to go home and take a nap. But she had it down, and the students, she said, were extra well behaved because I was there. So I have a calming effect on students, if you all weren't aware. And one interesting thing was I walked out at lunchtime, which, by the way, the lunch looked delicious. That looked really good. They had some orange chicken. It was, all the students were eating it up. But the principal was telling me that they did training with their noontime supervisors in PBIS. And they've really worked on a program to build that relationship and, work on relationships and reflections. And they really have connected with the students, and the behaviors at lunchtime are way down. And they have systems in place to deal with someone's having a bad day. So I thought that was a very innovative approach to the situation and using staff already in place. And then I attended the DLP ceremony at Mission, where the 5th and 8th graders graduated, or was promoted. I always want to say graduated. From the program, they all got a ribbon, and that place was packed at Mission, so it was a great turnout. And then today I attended the ACE Day lunch, so thank you to CSEA for organizing ACE Week. I think it's always a valuable opportunity for us to see other people's perspectives in the district and what they're doing, and I'm just glad I didn't have to clean toilets this time. So that is my report.
Thank you, Esty. Doug?
All right, well, thank you. In addition to all of the sentiments and events already noted, I'd like to congratulate our elementary and middle school bands. Attended the design team meeting, I think last week, and that was a good wrap-up to the year. This last Sunday, I attended, helped lead a group to the San Diego Legion rugby game at Snapdragon Stadium, courtesy of the Police Athletic League, and we had excellent seats, a lot of participation. Very excited about our rugby leagues. Did a job shadow with a noontime supervisor at Felicita Elementary, that's Ariana Trejo, and absolutely excellent how we have so many pieces of the puzzle to keep our schools running and how vital those classified staff are. So thank you very much to every classified staff member. We know that summertime is a time of extreme activity, at a weather time that's not real conducive to extreme activity. So we just appreciate all the people that are going to be putting our facilities in excellent shape and those that are going to be maintaining it during summer school. Last night, we went to the El Bocon play at Mission Middle School, which just great energy, really a good production, and absolutely fantastic that we are continuing with our arts, our visual arts, our performing arts at our middle school and elementary level. ACE Luncheon today, again, thank you to CSEA and everybody involved with CSEA. And a special thanks to all of the teachers in the district who all year have been working to help our students prepare for their future, whatever that holds, getting them ready for the world of work that they're coming to, regardless of anything. And really, if we look at what we're doing as a district, there's a lot to be proud of.
Thank you, Doug. And I just wanted to just kind of say thank you, top off what Doug was saying to all the teachers, staff, everything else. This is a long year. It's coming to an end, and I think that we've done pretty well. We've been able to get through a few humps, and I'm glad that we were able to get through that without too much difficulty. And I want to thank Cabinet for all our Cabinet and Board, excuse me, for all your guys' support this year. It's been very much appreciated in all the hard work. Thank you. Dr. Barrow.
All right, just again, echoing the sentiment, thank you to all of our staff, teachers, certificated and classified for all their hard work. We're wrapping up the year with promotions and celebrations, and it's always great to see that. So great job, everyone. For ACE, Appreciating Classified Employees Week, wanted to do a quick shout out to Jose Mendoza, one of our district painters who I had the opportunity to shadow and get to know just a little bit, 16-year employee. That really loves his job, and you can see the relationship that he establishes with primarily our front office staff. It's the key people there, the office managers and the custodian, who really are our eyes and ears about what's happening at our schools. And you realize that our maintenance folks are everywhere throughout the district, and they're also that extra eyes and ears of making those connections with our community and really all of our kids. And they have when you're on a roof taking care of some painting and you're hearing the sounds, and I think Jose made it best. We were up there on top of the NPR room at Central Elementary School, and you could hear the kids playing. And they were like, it's this excitement, they're screeching because they're so excited. And he said, listen to that. Where else can you work and hear those sounds of happy kids? And that epitomizes our classified employees. So thank you on Classified Employees Week. Congratulations. Thank you. It takes a team to operate this district, and glad to have all of them as part of the team.
Just also a shout out. We each actually did some shadowing for classified appreciation. So I appreciated shadowing Isa Rivera. She's a LVN over at Hidden Valley. And again, just impressed with her care and support that she gives her students.
And I also got to go to North Broadway with that fun bunch, but you can't hear me at all.
No.
That's okay.
Very good. Let's try this one. I got two. I got to go to North Broadway with that fun bunch, which also extends to the Mom Squad that I hung out with on Wednesday morning, setting up for their open house that's happening, I think, now. Putting up artwork and whatnot, and so that was a lot of fun. And I was working with and shadowing Susie, the family liaison over there, and got to see all of the great work and great things that they do to engage our families.
And I got to shadow 32-year employee Debbie Pierce, a Braille transcriber, and I learned more about Braille and all of the things that you don't even realize that you can't make meaning of if you don't have sight, and how they bring it alive to our students every day.
I was able to shadow Miss Donna Harris from Orange Glen, Nutrition Services Manager. She taught me so much in such a short period of time. Not only do we make delicious orange chicken. We make great turkey wraps in our schools. And so I hope her cat's okay. In addition to that, I'm going to be practicing Mario Kart.
Thank you. All right. We will not be going into closed session, so the next regular scheduled board meeting will be held on Thursday, June 6th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Escondido Union School District, Carolyn Gilbert Education Center. And with that said, we are adjourned. Thank you all.